Right. My Duolingo, I started it last night, in French. So it's truly a pleasure. Again, I don't know why they keep on putting me up on the stage to speak to you in English when we've had such a passionate crowd in all of you talking about very important issues. We've been able to hear from the ambassador and the doctor about some of both the opportunities and the role of the private sector, as well as some of the challenges, right, facing. So what can I say that's going to take us through this next day and perhaps take us into the future? And so I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a very quick story about all of my favorite things. It includes women economic empowerment. It includes, of course, SIPE. Okay? It includes leadership, and includes public-private dialogue. And so in this story, we're talking about a lady who was in an African country, and she was facing and seeing that as she was becoming wealthier as a businesswoman, that her fellow citizens were not getting as far. And there were a lot of disadvantaged youth, young girls, and something had to be done. So she had a bunch of connections and reached out and got in touch with SIPE and said, what should I do? And SIPE said, you should form a women's business association. She said, all right, how do I do that? We gave her some help, and she formed this women's business association. A few years later, she came back and she said, well, look, yeah, we're doing good things, but you know, how do I run a women's business association? Well, you have to have a board, you have to have all of these things, you have to get revenues, you have to provide services. And she said, okay, and she continued to do that. Then she came and said, well, you know, this is good, but I need to do more. So we said, well, why don't you form a women's business coalition? So you all can come together and talk about, make recommendations and talk to the government about what affects all of your stakeholders. And she said, okay, we can do that. How do I do it? So SIPE helped her and gave her some information on how she could do that. And she went out and formed this women's business coalition. And then we said, wow, she's doing a good job. So based on her and inspired by her, we said, why don't we create a Pan-African Women's Coalition? So we brought together women leaders from all over Africa for a few years. And like events like this, they came together to share experiences, and this person became quite important and famous. Well, then she started, with her Women's Business Coalition, she started talking to the government. And the government said, you know what, we're going to shut her up. We are going to shut her up. We're going to make her a minister in our government, and so therefore she talks a lot about the problems. She can come in and solve them. They made her a minister. Make a long story short, after a while, she became one of the first women presidents in Africa, and she ran this country. So she not only started by running an association and started in business, she became the president of the country. And so what I'm saying here is all you are thinking about where you are going to go next and what your challenges are, and whether you're a man or a woman, we should all be, and we should all try to aspire to be, the Joyce Bandas of the world, in terms of moving forward and becoming leaders in our community and working together with others, because we cannot do this alone. We have to come together and work together. And we have to understand that there is a role for government, there is a role for business, there is a role even for some of these consultants. But we have to understand that everybody must work together, and our challenge is to find out how everybody works together to come up with specific solutions. So with that, I hope we can continue and move forward to be Joyce Bandas.